Are these mayflies or what? There's loads of them. I know that mayflies come out en masse, presumably in May. Whatever these are, there's a lot of them. And it is May. I don't know how well the camera's picking them up, but they're swarming. And they certainly look like mayflies. You know, they're the kind of flying insect that has that little droopy tail hanging down at the back. I don't think we're going to be able to get one close up because they're all on the wing. None of them are actually landing anywhere. I'm going to have to look them up later and see what they might be. For now, I'm going to go with mayflies. And Mr. Frog is having a little sunbathe. And I think our little friend Mr. Shrew has dug himself a nice warm little den there in the straw, sitting out in the sun. At least I hope it's Mr. Shrew. I've got a few here. It's either that or a rat. I had other things planned today, but I'm going to have to get the mower out, provided that rain holds off. Anyway, one job that I'm definitely getting done today, I've nearly finished. Getting the tomatoes in. Oh, out their pots and into the ground. There's a beefsteak one at the end there. Then there's I'm not sure which order they're in, but there's an Alicante, a Moneymaker, a Shirley, and this one I'm about to put in is Gardener's Delight, which is a little tumbling cherry tomato, I think. Anyway, I think I remember it being that. This one here, that's going to live in the pot. That's definitely a tumbling cherry tomato. That's going to live in the pot. Before I just put this last one in the ground, I want to show you what I do. I always do this with all of my tomatoes. Tomatoes are one of those plants which will grow new roots anywhere where the stem is touching the ground. Where it's touching damp soil, it will grow new roots. So before I stick them in, and this one's been transplanted once already, so I've already done this once when I put it into this larger pot from its little seed tray. And just before I put it into the ground, I'm going to take off these bottom branches, and when I stick it in the ground, I'm going to bury it right up to here, and then all of this will grow new roots, and the more roots, the more tomatoes. And there you go, that's now buried right up to its next set of leaves. So there's a good few inches of stem now that's down there growing new roots. That's a really good tip and an easy thing to do. Right, what's next? Peas. My poor old peas here, they're more than ready to go out. If I can just find one of these pots and show you. There you go, we've got roots coming out the bottom. They're itching to get in the ground. But we have the slight problem that these, up until this morning, have spent their entire life on a shelf in my shed. It is a nice light shed, it's got lots of windows, and it does keep the weather off when you're starting off your seedlings like this. But problem is, these haven't been hardened off, so they're going straight from the relatively shady, completely wind-free, completely sun-free environment of my shed out into these beds, which might not do them a lot of good. Wouldn't normally do them a lot of good. But I've done this before with peas. I'll stick them in, and then I'll shield them from the worst of the sun, the worst of the wind. This week is going to be overcast and mild, so that's actually ideal. That's actually ideal. It's not giving them anything too fierce in terms of weather. Now what I'm going to do, once I've planted them in their rows along this mesh here, I'll use some material that I've got to keep the weather off. I'll show you that stuff now. these big sheets here, look, that's all. These big sheets of polycarbonate, they're long, they're very long. What is that? That's got to be a 10-foot sheet. Got quite a decent little store around the back here. Lots of bits and pieces that are coming useful for repairing sheds, repairing beds, repairing borders, repairing the chicken roof. And for now, this polycarbonate is doing a great job of protecting. Nothing fancy there, just using this cultivator tool. This soil is so nice and light and crumbly and humusy. Humus? No, that's the dip. Humusy. This is all it takes. Just dig out some rough trenches. And there's no grand art to planting these peas out either. You'll see that these ones here, lots of people recommend you should grow peas in very deep pots, which sometimes I'll do. But at the moment my deep pots are taken up with other seedlings. So I've done it the really quick, easy, cheap way and just chucked them in a tray. Now, this might look brutal, but it's fine. This is the way to plant peas in my opinion. Get your hand underneath. There's going to be a mat of roots in here. Get your hand underneath. Take out a handful and sit them pretty much the right way up in the ground. Another handful just next to them there, and another, and you just work your way along the row. They really can take this much punishment. See that? Dump it in the ground. And then where you've dug your little trench, obviously you've got a bit of a spoil heap. Just nudge that back in on both sides. There's a root there, get rid of that one. And then I'm going to give it a little light sprinkling of commercial compost, just to keep the sun off the white roots. Literally just laying them out in a row, covering them over with compost. Ripete ça. So that's that. My first sowing of peas are in. Now what I've done, because they weren't hardened off and they're going to be a little bit susceptible to harsh rain, harsh wind, harsh sun, I've completely buried them in compost. They're in these rows on this side of the mesh, on the left hand side. There's a row there and there's a row there. I've put up the polycarbonate to keep the wind and the rain off, and actually being white rather than completely clear, it's also going to keep the sun off. That layer of compost on top of them is going to protect them for the first couple of days before they break through that and start to climb their way up the mesh. I'd say give it a week. Once they've all popped their heads through, they're going to be well used to the conditions, and we'll have this polycarbonate out. Who's that? Don't know. Oh, so that's them in place. I don't know what's next. I know what's next. It's mowing. I don't want to mow. I've been putting it off and putting it off, but I'm working next weekend, so by the time I'm next available to come and mow, it's going to be a nightmare. I've just got to do it. Unfortunately, one of them things. But anyway, it's not the end of the world, because it's kicking off my new compost heap. So try and think of it that way. Before I do my mowing and get my boots all covered in grass clippings, I've changed over to my summer boots. In the winter, I wear those huge, great diving boot, clunky, 2 kilo a piece Austrian mountain boots, and they're great. They're thermal, they're thick, they're like leather wellies. They're completely waterproof, but they are a bit much. They are a bit heavy in the summer. So There you go, nice. You can't even see the Vibram there, can you? They are Vibram soles under all that chicken poo. These are the British Army Altbergs, and they're like slippers. They're lovely. They are. I've just conditioned and waxed them ready for the season. They're absolutely beautiful, these boots. They're so light and comfortable. They're there you go. I was going to scrape it a bit clean for you, but there you go, in all its gory glory. They're light and they're comfortable. I got them from Surplus. Surplus, they're about 30 quid. 30 quid a pair. You buy the the civilian everyday version of these from Altberg, they're about 200 quid a pair. Absolutely amazing boots. They're quite athletic. They're very bendy, very light. I think they're kind of getting towards what the army call tabbing boots. I can only presume tabbing must mean running, I think. I absolutely love them. Yeah, I love my winter boots, but they have a time and a place. And the time and the place for these Altbergs is about the next 6 to 8 months. Little tip here for the avid mower. Always remember, never forget to tie off your safety. That way you don't have to worry about safety. I might complain about the mowing, but look at all that nitrogen I've just got myself. That's brilliant. That's going to fire up my next compost heap brilliantly once I clear out the chickens and add all of the wood shavings and the poo and everything else. That's going to fire up a treat. I think all that mowing, that's done me in a bit now. I'm going to call it a day. Even with a powered mower, which that one is, it drives itself along. I don't have to actually push it, I just have to steer it. When you've got that much mowing to do, and you're not great in the back department, So, that was a pretty productive day. I've got the mowing done. I've got all that big pile of clippings ready for my next compost heap. I've got the peas in, and I've got the peas protected from the prevailing southerly weather. Look at the garlic. These first 2 rows here are garlic, the rest of that's onions. The garlic are doing beautifully. Really coming along nicely. And I've been eating asparagus all week. I need to have a little bit of a weed there because there's a few little annuals coming through. I need to just scrape them off the top. There we go. Asparagus coming through left, right and centre. And what you can see there, actually, that's just about perfect. Those little shoots there, they are a lovely bit of asparagus. Tomatoes are in. Chickens are happy. Apples are coming. And there's a kite to finish on.